Hey everyone! The research article I chose was using requests for assistance to obtain desired items and to gain release from non-preferred activities. This was written by Joe Richley, Catherine Jager, and Caroline Davis, and it was published in the Journal of Education and Treatment of Children. So the research question that they had was basically to investigate whether aggressive behaviors that are maintained by positive or negative reinforcement can be replaced by requesting assistance appropriately. So to date, most research done on this topic has separated aggressive behaviors only by their function, but they really haven't taken a look at specifically whether positive or negative reinforcement is better useful for requesting appropriately. So these research were determined to recognize the extent of the significance on using requesting attention as a replacement behavior when the aggressive behavior is maintained by either positive or negative reinforcement. And they wanted to assess the differences between those two different reinforcement types. So the dependent variable was any recordable aggressive behavior, and the independent variable was the use of a communication card that was labeled help, and it was given to the participant to use in case they needed assistance. They had two experiments. One was whether the participant could use the card in order to escape from non-preferred activities, which in this case were difficult activities that the participant couldn't complete by themselves, or it was used for gaining access to activities that are preferred for the individual. So this individual is nonverbal. He was 32 years old, and basically what it allowed him to do is use this card to communicate. He already has 30 different communication cards that he uses, so this was another one that he could use instead of engaging in those very aggressive behaviors. So IOA was calculated. This was calculated for both the participant responses as well as how well the interventionist completed the procedures. The procedural reliability was 94% and the response reliability was 96%, which is great. The results for this study showed that during baseline for engaging in non-preferred activities, he showed aggressive behaviors 86% of the time. During the intervention phase, this went down to 0%, which is great. For having access to preferred activities that are already accessible for him, he did engage in some aggressive behaviors, but there was still an improvement. So he was able to engage in requesting for help without engaging in a lot of aggressive behaviors. He engaged in aggressive behavior 63% of the time during baseline, but only 10% during the intervention phase. So the conclusions was that the participant was able to generalize negative reinforcement activities better than positive reinforcement activities. He was able to generalize negative reinforcement activities, which were the escape-motivated behaviors of escaping difficult, which are non-preferred tasks for him. And he did better at this than generalizing positive reinforcement activities, which in this study was the tangible function of trying to access the preferred activities that were not easily attainable. So this shows that negative reinforcement procedures work better at providing generalization for students to learn requests than positive reinforcement activities do. The limitations of this study were that, well, for starters, there was only one participant in the study. He was also the age of 31, 32 years old, which means that in the future, you would like to do some studies that would have a large range of students or individuals, and especially students, especially children, since the whole point of our job is to interact with children of a younger age. Also, they used positive and negative reinforcement with different functions of behavior, so that could be a confounding variable. The whole point of the research was for them to assess whether negative or positive reinforcement worked better for requesting, but really when you're using two different functions of behavior, one was escape, and the other function of the behavior was tangible. So really, in order to assess this appropriately, I would like to see another study where they use the same function of behavior that is maintained by the same type of reinforcement, and then they can assess differently based on that. They can do one that's, let's say, escape maintained with positive reinforcement and one that's escape maintained with negative reinforcement, and hopefully that would help. So, all right, thank y'all for listening.